Hello everyone and welcome back. It's been busy, it's gonna keep being busy, you know the drill. So let's jump right into it for this video. This week's plan, more fabrication, unfortunately. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I was playing around with the upper control arm, which by the way I have pressed in new bushers and ball joints. But I noticed while doing that this brace in between the rocker and the frame is missing. It's been cut. Now I probably cut this when I did the boxing in of the frame bit that got mated here, and like the idiots I am, I didn't replace it. So what I've done is I've made some templates out of cardboard for each side, which fits nicely. Let me just quickly show you on the Valiant what it is I'm talking about. So here you can see this little plate that goes welded to the rocker, welded to the frame, and then welded a bit to the floor pan under there. So anyway, I made cardboard cutouts of how they should look, and then I looked outside and conveniently I found this piece of scrap. This came from the Jaguar suspension that we've cut out of a Barracuda, if you recall from a previous video. And this piece of panel here is nice and straight and undamaged. It's about 2 millimeters thick, whereas the braces that were in there measures at about 1.5-ish. So this is a bit thicker, but it will work nice. I'm just going to cut it into rough sections, sandblast it clean, then cut it according to the cardboard template, bend them, paint them, weld them in and all that. But unfortunately I have to go buy a new welder first, because if you recall from a previous video, my welder's been stolen. So you know, it just can't win, but hey, what can you do? So gonna cut it tonight, go buy a new welder tomorrow, and then we'll take it from there. Oh, also I have proceeded to coat both the K-member and the diff cover plate, as well as the diff housing itself, with Raptor, which is the same stuff we coated the underbody with, and it came out nicely. Oh, also, looks like I've been busy off camera. I took out the side shafts, I sandblasted them clean, repainted a bit. I also cleaned up the bearing faces with the bearing presses over on the lathe. And when I did that, I noticed that I think this one was a bit wonky. So I had it measured, and turns out it is bent a bit, so we straightened out the side shaft, which is all good. This one was straight. I think I have some footage of that. I'm going to quickly cut to that once we're done with this segment. But yeah, straighten out the side shafts, which, you know, is always good to do. So yeah, here's a plan roughly. We're just going to jump to it and take it from there. So stay tuned. So quick mid-video recap of what's been going on. I finished welding in the supports between the rocker and the frame, which I forgot to do. Other sides welded in as well. They're just spot welded. Didn't film it because it's boring and you've seen me weld a million times in the past before. Also, the dash pad's done, recovered. If you recall in the previous video, I complained that the foam they used was too squishy, so I redid it with high density foam that I like. Now it's nice and firm, not puffy anymore, and it looks great as usual. So more interior stuff in the next video. For the rest of this video, we are going to focus on the 7.25 inch rear differential and putting the sure grip back together and getting this underneath the car. Just give me a second, my throat is very dry. Delicious. Okay, so as per usual, there's good news and bad news. Now, good news is we have everything we need to reassemble this differential. We have side shaft seals, bearings. I don't think we have all the shims we need, but I'll get that next week. And most excitingly, we have a limited slip diff clutch pack. Now it is currently soaking in friction modifier. I read online somewhere that you should do that overnight before reassembling it, so we're doing it. I went and picked up Mopar's limited slip additive for that. what else did I want to say about this? I forgot. Oh, right. So I got it from Racing Diffs. Now, if you watched the previous video, I mentioned it at the end of the video that the only place in the world I could find a clutch pack that works for this is from the company called Racing Diffs. They're on eBay. They have a website as well. It was very expensive, so I messaged them directly through their website, tried to work out a deal, got a decent deal for it, and imported it here. Now, just want to give them my endorsement. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I had a really good time working with them. Very friendly customer service, very quick replies on their emails, and also they have a massive variety of stuff, so do check them out if you want anything for your limited slip differentials. Unfortunately, they are based in Serbia, so good luck importing stuff from there. If you're not used to importing stuff, I have to import everything for this car from overseas, so wasn't a big issue for me, but yeah, that is something to keep in mind. Now, bad news time. So the bad news is I finished stripping and cleaning all of the center portion stuff, or well, the Sure Grips stuff, and then I noticed that the crown and pinion had some rust on it, so I glass bead blasted them clean, and yeah, not good. A lot of pitting both on the forward face and on the reverse face. The pinion has less, but it also has some there, as you can see. Now, this will probably make the crown and pinion eat itself up faster than it should, and also probably be very noisy. So unfortunately, I will have to go outside and strip down one of the other two differentials I have lying outside and see, fingers crossed, they have a crown and pinion in a usable condition and in a gear ratio that I actually want to use. These ones are, I think, 292, 293 gears, so yeah, that's pretty slow, but then again, I'm using a 3-speed torque flight automatic, so you need those gears so that you can actually reach 80 miles an hour without redlining. Hopefully we have something similar there. If it goes past 3 to 4, we're kind of screwed. Anyways, gonna get my hands dirty, strip that down. Once that's stripped down, cleaned up, we will take the side shafts, the pinion and the housing, and press on all the new bearings, and yeah, we'll take it from there. So that's the plan. I don't think I'm gonna film any of it. I'll just keep giving you updates of how we get along, so stay tuned. Okay, so I'm currently putting back together the center portion, and I thought I'd quickly show you how it looks. These are the clutches that have been soaking overnight in friction modifier. Now, the difference between this pack and the one that I took out, this one has 3 stators per side, where this one only has 2. One of the stators have been replaced with this conical shim. As you can see, it has a slight little upwards notion to it, and the belly of this shim should be like facing outwards, so they are stacked on either side of the pack and their bellies are facing like out. So there's just one thing to note: make sure you put it back together the way you took it off. Like, you should have marked which side goes into which half of the housing, and you can put the spider gears back in, and then you can connect the two back together with the assortment of bolts. So yeah, quickly gonna do that, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so Sure Grip is reassembled. Just need to torque down these bolts to their final spec and also add the crown gear. Now, speaking of crown gears, as discussed, this one was pitted a bit too much for my liking, so we opted to replace it. Luckily, the crown gear that came out of the 68 donor car is in a fantastic condition. Now, one thing worth mentioning: this differential that we're building is a later model, somewhere in the 70s, I'm thinking like 74-ish, whereas this one, the 68, is obviously older model, so there are some differences in terms of the pinion setup between these two. The newer model makes use of a crush collar that comes between this step and the pinion bearing, which gets squished once you torque down the pinion to a certain specification, whereas the earlier model pinion doesn't have that. It just has a little spacer or shim. Now also, this pinion from the later model is shimmed out much thinner than this one from the earlier model. So because the pinion shimming is very specific to the differential case and then also the lash on the ground gear and stuff, I'm considering doing this, combining, or well, keeping the newer pinion and then just swapping out the crown gear for the older crown gear. Now these are both 293 gear ratio setups, so it should be fine. They are interchangeable, but yeah, I'm thinking it's better if I just keep the pinion that came out of that housing and put it back into that housing instead of trying to shim out this one, which is kind of a different setup. Should be fine. Like, this one is pitted a little bit, yes, but it's not as bad as the crown gear, and to be honest, this one is also a little bit pitted, so no harm doing that. So we'll see if that works out and update you guys accordingly. Other than that, the side shaft bearings and seals are on, so they are ready to go. The only thing that's left to be pressed is the sleeves for the bearings of the pinion into the diff housing, and once that's in, we can put all of that stuff together. So final stretch, or what did I step on? Oh, stepped on the arrows. Final stretch. Hopefully I can get it done this week somewhere. Fingers crossed. But yeah, there's always something that gets like thrown into the mix that makes you adapt your plans. But yeah, cool. Let's see what we can do. Right, so the sure grip is completely reassembled and ready to go back into the diff housing. Just some quick info about it. Whenever you're talking stuff such as this down, which is critical fasteners, use thread locker. I like Wirt, make sure it's high strength. Remember to use a crisscross pattern, and yeah, that's pretty much it. The crown gear bolts are torqued to 75 Newton meters, and the housing halves torqued to 40 Newton meters. So that should be good to go now. I'm gonna plop it back in and take it from there. Okay, so I'm in the process of shimming out the sure grip left and right so that the backlash is correct, and then also shimming the pinion so that the wear pattern is correct. Now, I couldn't get it in for the life of me, so I figured I need a case spreader. Now, no one in this damn city, not a single shop, sells case spreaders. So I figured I'll make my own. Wait, let me just take this off and then I'll show you what I did. Okay, so the concept is quite simple. Essentially, you want to hook up the case and spread it open so that the center portion drops in easier with the shims. So what I elected to do is I took some angle iron 5mm thick and then some square tubing. I welded the square tubing to the angle iron, then I drilled holes through each end and put in M16 threaded rod. Now it's fixed to one side and then open on the other, so you end up tightening this, and then these two posts, which are just Allen key heads that I grinded off and welded there, will fit into these holes, and essentially when you tighten them, the thread will push it open. So really simple thing to make. Took me like an afternoon, but yeah, now I have a case spreader, which makes this a hell of a lot easier. So yeah. Okay, so sure grip is in and set. Now the wear pattern I got from it is a little bit deep for my liking, but that's the only solution I could come up with the assortment of shims I have available. So you know what, I'm gonna keep it as is, rather too deep than too shallow. Now the backlash, I used the dial indicator and set it. It came out to 0.11 millimeters, which equates to 0.004 inches, well, more like 0.005 ish, which is well within the spec what the backlash should be. It should be 0.004 to 0.007. So yeah, all good. That's a relief. Okay, so that pretty much wraps it up for the Mopar 7¼ sure grip assembly. I got the side shafts back in. They're a little bit tight just now. Just need to adjust this plate. But the only thing left to do is to put back the diff cover and then put in some gear oil. Now I've opted to go pick up this Liqui Moly limited slip gear oil. I chose to do this instead of using regular gear oil and then adding this additive. Now this is very expensive oil. It's like $45 for a liter, so yeah, quite expensive, but still cheaper than replacing the clutches if they go bad. Now another reason I opted to go with this, because it's 75W140. Now the manual recommends 7590 or SAE 90 for this, but here, being in Namibia in the desert, it's currently summer, it's like 38 degrees Celsius, so it's quite hot here with us, so a bit thicker oil won't hurt. And what else is there to say? Really not much. So once I'm done with this, we're gonna take the car from here, get it on the lift over there, put in the leaf springs, put in the differential, and then start moving the engine around, mate it to the K-member, and get it back into the car. But that's only for the next video, so stay tuned. It's gonna get busy now.